Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, the show where we look ahead to the weekend's football, normally the Premier League, the Championship, and that's it. But this week we have a game in League One as well because the playoffs are here, and we take the midpoint with Sporting Index and Spreadex, and we say if we think the eventual result will be higher or lower. I'm your host, George Elek. I'm delighted to be joined, as I always am, at this table by Dan Worth and Jack Wright.
Hello. How's yous?
What?
How's yous?
Yeah, we're fine. It's funny that, because I assume you're kind of making an Oxford reference there. But like, our nickname being the U's is really weird because like no one ever calls us that. Like I say we're the Yellows. Like we all shout yellow the whole time. I refer to us as Yellows. Okay. And yet the only time, sometime at the end of chance, we go like U's. But that's the only time it ever really happens. So top marks for effort.
Well, that's what I do.
But you also support some Yellows, don't you?
I do, yeah.
The Canaries.
The Yellows.
Yeah. We'll be playing you next season. Dan, you all right?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, how's stuff at Reading?
Yeah, ended the season on a bit of a high, I suppose.
Yeah.
Harvey Nibbs kissing the badge. Means he's staying next season,
Kissing
right?
farewell.
We shall see.
He's a good player.
Please stay.
I think he might be okay. Anyway, enough of the pleasantries because this is serious stuff. I think I'm still just about ahead in the competition.
I think you are.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Although, given that the EFL action, if you keep picking playoff stuff, I might be all right. Is about to end because this is the last weekend of the Championship season. But as I say, no Championship games this week. Although the first game we're going to preview might have a fair bearing on who ends up in the Championship next season. Everton are safe, but they travel to a Luton side whose valiant safety or survival bid has somewhat hit the rocks recently, and Burnley playing their way into the conversation as well. This is on Friday night, live on Sky. We're looking at the goal line here with Spreadex. Total goals is the market for Luton against Everton. 3 is the midpoint for this one. So lower would be 0, 1 or 2. Higher would be 4, 5, 6. And 3 would be a push.
Yeah, pushing.
You ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Well, there we are.
Might as well just move on. No one's going to make any ground on anyone. So
That's it. No.
Jack, why are there going to be 0, 1 or 2 goals here?
Pretty much because of Everton, I think.
Is it going to be Everton to 0?
No, they're away from home. They're away from home, so don't count. That one's done. But it's still going on, isn't it? It's just crazy
13
run.
13 in 2 seasons, I heard.
Something like that,
I do find these good stats sometimes, don't I?
You've done well, mate.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cheers.
That's good. I'll write that one down.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll use that sometime.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. How do you think Everton are going to take it? As you said at the top there, they're safe now. So this is a dead rubber for them, which you probably wouldn't expect. I'm sure Sky went about this thinking...
Is there like a weird angle to this?
What are you thinking?
For Everton, like obviously they'll have aspirations next season of being better than a relegation threatened side.
I know where you're going with this, and I've thought this as well.
Yeah, like if Everton lose this game, their chances of survival next season are improved.
Exactly right. Yeah.
You have to think, because like as amazingly as Luton are doing, it's hard to see them developing into anything more than, especially next season, into a team who are going to be fighting for relegation again. Yeah.
Perennial.
And given, we've got Leicester coming up, we're probably going to have one of Leeds or Southampton coming up. Ipswich are going to be no mugs. Like Luton would probably be favourites for the drop again.
Who else could come up? I don't know.
I said probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I thought that as well. I thought, how do they approach it? I actually said at the top, how do you think Everton take it? Is it one of those games that they would possibly go, oh, that was unlucky, we narrowed defeat? So,
I'd love to see the look on Sean Dyche's face if you told him that you thought they should try and lose
I
the
wouldn't
game.
tell him. No. Hopefully, Sean, if you are listening, don't come and find me.
Yeah.
But you should hear George's impression of you. It's brilliant.
That was actually me that did that prank call all those years ago.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Right. Well, these two have obviously played each other already, and Luton have won both those games this season, so they will have that element of confidence, and at Goodison Park, so they're at home, which theoretically should be better. I just think with Everton, very good defensively and very poor offensively. I think they're the ones that are going to make it tough for Luton to break them down. And if you've got a side that is going to handle that more physical approach from Luton, you'd probably want Everton to be as one of those ones that would take that on. So yeah, I just think that for me it's going to be a tight and cagey one. So with Everton now safe, and so their issues in offensive areas, a low level of goals.
Dan?
I really need to stop doing my notes in a Google Doc that you two have access to, because you just read off word for word basically what I was planning to say.
I don't have a Google Doc.
Ah, fair enough. You just completely ruined my joke. The first thing I've said the whole show, and you've just ruined it. Yeah, and mate, I completely agree. I think like you've got Everton who are struggling to score versus Luton who have conceded their fair share. Luton have scored okay this season, and Everton have been really good at the back. Like all of those things combined doesn't scream goals to me, which, as I say, when I go lower, that's quite surprising. That'll be on the lower side, but I can't see this being a high scorer. Yeah,
if you take Everton's games against teams beneath them in the Premier League, only 2 have gone over, and this is this is points Premier League, so this is ignoring all points deductions as well, right? Because that's irrelevant when it comes to the quality of opposition. Only 2 have gone over the 3-goal line. There was a 3-1 win at Brentford back in September, and a 3-2 win at Crystal Palace back in November. So both of them quite a long time ago. Since then, we've had a 0-0 draw at Fulham, a 1-0 win at Forest, a 2-0 win at Burnley, and a 2-2 draw at Sheffield United as well, which was also back in September. So you're seeing there, like, the ones early in the season were going over, but more recently they've been going under. It should be said that Everton have an unbelievable away record against these teams towards the bottom. The lowest team in the table that they've lost to this season away from home is Wolves, up in 11th, which is pretty impressive.
So you look at it, and generally, let's say their defence, they've got the 4th best defensive record in the Premier League.
Yeah.
That's like kind of testament to what Sean Dyche has done with that club. And that Chelsea performance recently was a real outlier, wasn't it? That's kind of stands out like a sore thumb through the rest of it. The 11 games prior to that had seen 3 or fewer, with 8 going 0, 1 or 2. So I think
and Luton's, yes, from a goal scoring point of view, they scored 3 against Arsenal, they scored 4 against Brighton, they scored 2 against Villa. Like, against these better teams, they have been scoring a lot of goals at home, but against the poorer teams, it's really weird. 1 against Sheffield United, 1 against Burnley, 1 against Forest, 1 against Brentford, 2 against Palace. Like, when they host teams that you perceive to be the minnows, and one of those was Brentford the other day, they lose 5-1. The issue is they concede a lot of goals in these games, but as you say, with the intensity probably lacking from Everton, but their good defensive record, that seems to be the key for me on this one.
The final split on goals scored by Everton and goals conceded is mad, because they're 4th best for goals conceded in the league, 19th for goals scored, and away from home, level with Sheffield United as far as 16 goals away from home they've scored is like joint worst. So I think I do feel Luton are getting to that point where they are running on fumes as well. So I think that intensity is struggling. But Friday night, under the lights.
Friday night.
They'll take a 1-0 win, won't they? And maybe, as you said at the top, Everton might do as well.
Didn't you used to say that under the lights there are more goals?
Yeah, I had absolutely nothing to back that up with.
You say everything more goals, don't you?
There's goals all the time.
Okay. Well, the lights probably won't be on in Arsenal against Bournemouth on Saturday. This is the next mark we're looking at, or the next match we're looking at, I should say. SpreadX have Arsenal as the favourites, unsurprisingly, over Bournemouth. 2.15, the midpoint in the supremacy. So this is the amount of goals that the favourites will beat the underdogs by. So 2.15 being the midpoint means that lower is an Arsenal win by 2 goals, 1 goal, a draw, or any Bournemouth win. Higher is Arsenal's win by 3 or more. Wow. 3, 2, 1. This is insane.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
You nearly kept that under the radar there.
Sometimes I look through these markets and you see the ones where you're like, right, I need to do a bit of work on that and a bit of digging. I don't know what I'm going to do. With that, it was like the most ultimate on my brain. Like, well, I don't even have to do anything here. Like, what? Why this level of disrespect, Dan, to Bournemouth? Can you speak for the traders? What are they doing?
Yeah, I actually don't know.
Dead rubber for their massive game for.
Yeah, I guess that's what they're thinking. Obviously, Arsenal the home team too, so that probably is it will be factored in as well. But it's so high, like mental. I mean, I actually wish I'd had time to go back and look, but I'd imagine that's got to be up there with one of the highest.
I don't think we've ever had a where you need to win by 3.
Yeah.
I'm sure there has been like Man City at home at Sheffield United and stuff like that, but on the show for one of these games, then that is definitely the highest this season.
It's mad. And to be fair, Arsenal probably one of the teams generally that I'd be like, oh yeah, they can win by 3. But I've been pretty impressed with Bournemouth of late, and when I say of late, over the last couple of months, they've only lost by 3 or more on 4 occasions this season, which I say only 4 occasions is probably a fair amount, but they're all sort of towards the start of the season before
Yeah.
their form started to pick up. Yeah, Arsenal are obviously in decent form too and have a lot to play for, so they probably will look to score as many as they can with goal difference and things potentially playing a factor. But yeah, it's just so high.
It's so high. Like, and I guess part of it must be because Arsenal come into this off the back of, especially because their defensive record this season has been so good. Against Spurs, they were really shaky defensively. And from 3-0 up, Spurs kind of turned the screw a bit, obviously disallowed goal. But really? If we look before that, there was the clean sheet against Chelsea, the clean sheet against Wolves. They keep clean sheets for fun. They concede so few goals. And Gabriel and Saliba, they've got the best centre-back pairing in the league. I understand that Iraola and Bournemouth have been so impressive for the most part, but it's not like their games are crazy high scoring. They have scored 1 goal in their last 3 away games. I'm just seeing now they've only drawn a blank once away from home, which is obviously impressive. But for me, I think Arsenal will win the game, but it comes down to the fact that I don't think there are going to be loads of goals, and I think Bournemouth will have to concede 3 for that to be the case. I think Bournemouth's away record is good enough, and they are doing well enough that they will frustrate Arsenal to an extent. And I think Arsenal would come away from this really happy with a 1-0 or a 2-0 defeat. I'm very surprised to see the fact that Bournemouth can lose this game 3-1 and you're still in the money.
Yeah. Simply a 3-goal swing is a step too far for me. I think if it had been a 2, then it's one of those ones that you probably would have sided with Arsenal, because you can see a 2-0, possibly a 3-1, something like that.
Yeah.
But so with this, Arsenal don't need to go and win 3, 4, 5-0, do they? They would sign for a 1-0, 2-0 win now, absolutely, and move on, get the points on, and hope for a slip up from Manchester
City. The high pressure nature of it as well, where it's so important as well just to get over the line. Means that if they're 2-0 up, are they going to be worrying about going forward and getting another?
Absolutely not. They just want to get the 3 points. That's all they've got to concentrate on now, isn't it? Winning that, and Bournemouth are in good form, as Dan has said there. They've up in the top 6 over the last 10 games. Yeah. They've got their best points haul in the Premier League. They've tied the club record for wins. They haven't got a great record against Arsenal, and they haven't got the best record away from home against the top sides. But they've only lost by 3+ in 2 of 17 away games. One of those was against Manchester City, which is one that you'd probably expect. And the other one was actually Everton, obviously 3-0. But their average supremacy away from home this season is minus 0.47. So have kept it pretty tight across the season. And Arsenal's average supremacy at home is plus 1.65. So they've nearly got to double that, haven't they, to cash this one for the higher backers. But no, for me, it's a strong lower.
Strong lows. We've all agreed on lowers for the first 2. I've got a feeling. Let's see. Total goal minutes next up. Spread X again, 191.5. Bournemouth playing. This is going to come back in my face now. It's going to be like 9-0 to Arsenal. Anyway, total goal minutes 195. This is total cumulative amount of minutes the goals are scored in within the game. This is unbelievably high, which means the goal line is clearly very high, which is unsurprising given that Arsenal are nearly 2.5 goal favourites. So total goal minutes 191.5. A spread X going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't even have to look to know what you've done.
You didn't know. No, I just did get stumbled there.
Jack, why so high?
Well, obviously, the traders do expect Arsenal to absolutely thump Bournemouth in this one. I wonder if there was a little bit of recency bias in the fact that the carnage of the North London derby, but that's a North London derby. That's a kind of game in its own right, really, in Arsenal season. As you've already mentioned, over the course of the season, Arsenal's defence has been rock solid, best defence in the league. You can see a return here.
Yeah.
You look at that Tottenham game in isolation, it was a keeper error, a terrible, terrible keeper error, and a penalty that they conceded. Yes, the goal disallowed as well, but chances happen in all games. So, that's kind of stuff that you'd write off as not going to happen every single week as well. I just can't be going 191 minutes. I did do the maths across it. The average Arsenal home games this season is 184, so it is high, but Bournemouth is 182, so both of them are actually lower away games, that is. There are 13 times Arsenal games have seen goals, 13 goals, 80 plus minutes, which is the key driver, I think, in this. If you're contemplating going higher. 6 goals in 90 in added on time. Bournemouth 11 goals, 80 plus minutes, and 6 goals, 90 plus. That's in their games away from home, and Arsenal's at home. So, but no, it's an incredibly high line, which there's no way in the world I'd be want to take it on. As for all the reasons we said why we didn't think Arsenal are going to win this 5-6-0.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think Arsenal are the best defence in the league as well. So just to jump on the back, like, I'm not saying they won't concede as like a blanket statement, but like the chances are quite low because they're very good at defending. I just can't see it making up that much, especially in a game of such importance to Arsenal. Like, obviously we've just said that I don't think Arsenal are going to blow them out of the water, so I can't see this racking up loads. And like 191, it's a very stupid thing to say, but like if there aren't any early goals, you're going to need more than 2 late ones.
Yeah. I know it's a different league and a different team, but Iriola's record in La Liga when he was playing, his sides were playing against Real Madrid and Barcelona, he was very, very good, but they were very low scoring.
Yeah.
They were generally 1-0s and very, very tight games. So you assume he's got a template when he's taken his side to go. It didn't work out against Manchester City, really. I've already said that. But, you know, he has got that in his locker that he knows how to nullify those kind of teams.
And surely there's also a massive game state angle to this, where, like, if Arsenal are over 2-goal favourites, the overwhelming probability is that they're going to be defending a lead late in this game. And if that's the case, then I don't understand why we'd expect loads of late goals unless you expect Bournemouth to come into it or Arsenal to kind of do them on the counter. But there's no. I think there's any pressing need for Bournemouth to really throw caution to the wind.
No.
As I say, this is going to quite clearly end up looking ridiculous and it's going to be clipped up and shared amongst the Spread X offices, I'm sure, saying, look at this idiot. But yeah, we're all in agreement there. So 3 out of 3, we've all said the same.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to try and go against what I think in the next one just to diversify a little bit. Man City against Wolves is the next game we're looking at here. This is first match goal, so the time in which the first goal is scored within the game. Spread X have 27.5 as the midpoint here. So if you're going lower, you need a goal to be scored before the 28th minute, the first goal, ideally. It has to be the first goal. Or higher would be the goal after the 28th minute and onwards. So your higher is hoping for 0-0 after 28 minutes. We're going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1.
There we go. Differential.
Look,
I know. Yeah.
What are you doing?
The man who loves goals.
I need to be different, don't I? That's not really why I've done it.
I actually in that case, you should have gone overs for all the Arsenal stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm not that brave. I actually don't really have too much to say as to why I've done it. It's just I see this line as very close to perfect. Done a coin flip. Higher.
Cool.
Wow. Okay. Strong case indeed. Follow that. I just feel this is Manchester City at home against a lesser light with a very rare for them week to prepare and go about dismantling Wolves side that won't have Gary O'Neill in the technical area. And I just feel that they will be the dominant force in this one. That's pretty, goes without saying really. Across the season so far, 17 games played at the Etihad, 10 times the first goal has been before this line, 7 times after it, or not at all, which happened once. I just feel that Man City, with pretty much all their attacking talent fit and raring to go, will rip into the Wolves and get an early goal. Yeah,
I agree. I don't think there's any. We see Wolves under Gary O'Neill generally being a side that kind of take the game to the opposition. Like last week, we had the West Ham Liverpool game, which, as I said at the time, sorry guys, we see West Ham consistently in those games just really drop off and just try and withstand pressure to start the game, which can often lead to high scoring games, but later on in games. With Wolves, it's not the case. Like they engage, they look to play themselves, they'll fancy themselves on the counter against City. And we know that City are just a relentless attacking threat, so I don't see why Wolves will necessarily be able to hold out for 27 minutes, 28 minutes. But I also wouldn't rule out Wolves, having chances themselves on the counter. So
getting some of their players back now that will pose a threat. They've got a fair record against Manchester City as well, comparably to most other teams. So I think they'll go there. As I say, they've got no jeopardy involved in this either. So it could be an entertaining game. And as I say, their counter threat is their best way of getting something out of it.
Absolutely. Yellows.
Yellows.
Here we go.
Norwich.
I've never seen you this excited.
Here we go. Oh, biggest game in the world this weekend takes place. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff on Saturday night, which is quite fun.
Wow.
So I've got to watch all the Championship final day games at 12:30, record a pod, and then get down to Oxford or up to Oxford for the game. I cannot wait. League One playoff semi-final, first leg, Oxford United versus Peterborough United. This is Oxford's supremacy market. Oxford favourites, obviously, at home to Posh. 0.25 is the midpoint here with Sporting Index. So lower is a Peterborough win or a draw. Higher is Oxford United to take a lead to Peterborough next Wednesday in the League One playoffs.
I think you should dig this up a bit more.
I don't know
Really
how.
downplaying it.
Right, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Are you?
3, 2, 1.
Oh.
Yay!
I thought you were going to go for another yellows there.
I'm just happy. Wow.
Oh, yeah, we are. We're all with you. Aren't we, Dan?
Two of the
really.
greatest judges in football and Dan have all picked Oxford. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I'll lead with this one. If I'm going to be honest, this is not bullish in any way.
You sound bullish, George.
We did our not the top 20 playoff preview yesterday, and from like a fixed odds point of view, I put up 1-1 and 2-1 as being my two kind of selections because I think the way this is going to play out, like for context's sake, Oxford played Peterborough 3 weeks ago and beat them 5-0, and that was both teams at full strength. That was Oxford trying to get in the playoffs and Peterborough still with automatic promotion aspirations. So it wasn't a kind of a dead rubber for one of the sides. Peterborough missed an open goal at 0-0, which probably had quite a big bearing on the way that the game went. But the game suited Oxford perfectly, where Peterborough had loads of the ball. Oxford let them have it and employed a trigger press where they would win the ball in dangerous areas and break at pace. On the left hand, we've got some of the best wide players in League One in this game, where you've got Efren Mason-Clark, who plays off the left for Posh, who's already signed for Coventry. He'll be a Championship player next season. You've got Kwame Poku on the right, who's a brilliant, electric winger, wide player on the right-hand side. And then for Oxford, you've got Josh Murphy down the left, Norwich boy. Supposedly the more talented twin growing up was always the talk.
Yeah.
I wonder if that has had a bearing on the two of them, where maybe Jacobs just worked that little bit harder in order to get where he is.
Possibly.
There's been some rumours that maybe every so often they switch, which would make sense because Jacobs' form since January has tailed off, and Josh has gone from being a player that was possibly one of Oxford's worst ever signings to being our best player by miles, and being
That's tough competition as well, wasn't
and being the best player in League One, I would say, fairly comfortably over that period of time. Although Aaron Collins might have something to say about that. So he's the crucial part to this. I think with playoff games, unlike normal games, always worth remembering that if you said to Darren Ferguson right now, 1-0, he's like, not ideal, but fine. Like we go back to ours with just a 1-goal deficit. Like I almost feel something like 1-0 as a draw when it comes to the whole tie. And that has to have a bearing on this particular market where Oxford are favourites for that reason. They beat them 5-0 recently. There's a clear, like, in terms of the style of the two teams, and that day we saw that it benefits Oxford to play against teams that like to play, that don't look to play very deep. Oxford play a very flat back four with two defensive-minded fullbacks in Sam Long and probably Joe Bennett. And their job is purely, they will have no attacking intent whatsoever. The job will be, you stay on Poku, you stay on Mason-Clark. Don't worry about anything in possession. And that, I think, will go some way to curtailing Peterborough's threat down the flanks. So, again, like any Peterborough fans watching this, feel free to clip it up and send it to me when you beat us 5-0 on Saturday. But I do think really marginal. I can't sit here and put up my lower bat for this one. It's a shame I can't say to one of you, tell me why I'm wrong. But Dan, as a Reading fan,
as a Reading fan, I wish you all the very best.
And we know that Reading are just another club to Oxford. Oxford, Reading's biggest rival. So what has made you put up the bat here for higher?
Two things.
Yeah.
First thing, Oxford have the better form for the two sides.
Yes.
And obviously, like, again, it goes without saying, team in the best form generally performs better in the playoffs, I always think. Like, you don't want to be limping over the line into the playoffs because,
Yeah.
And Oxford definitely aren't doing that. Second thing, home advantage. all 3 stands going to be going crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe even the car park might.
There'll be a few lads on that little grassy
Yeah.
hump behind the fence as well.
So yeah, you'll have.
Have you not got a name for that? Like a Henman Hill? Have you not got like a...
Murphy Mound.
Yeah.
Should be that. Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah.
Maybe it will be after this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of another one. Dez's Dune.
Yeah.
Des Buckingham, Oxford manager.
Yeah.
Right, Jack, what do you reckon? Well, I know you think Oxford are going
No,
to win.
yeah,
so-
pretty much everything that you said. I was quite pleased that my written analysis here, you said much the same kind of things that I said. I think stylistically this game suits Oxford, so that's a win. Obviously, the last fixture being very recently, and you thrashing them 5-0 will have some kind of psychological impact. The best form going into it, no other playoff side. You took 20 points from your last 10 games. 1 defeat in the last 6, you won 4 of them. That was against Lincoln, which I know we talked about. You said was an ugly, aggressive performance from Lincoln.
Fully deserving their victory. Best of luck next season.
Absolutely. And you do wonder about, obviously, Posh's last memory of the playoffs is not a very pleasant one.
Yeah, but that worries me. Well, I'm a big believer in, especially when you haven't had a big churn of manager or player, teams that have heartache in the playoffs generally come back and do well. Because I think they get a lot out of that experience. We especially see it with beaten playoff finalists who get back the year after. They normally win. Part of that would just be variance, where
Yeah.
But I do think Peterborough's experience, these players, there hasn't been a massive churn. I think will box a bit smarter off the back of what they went through last season.
Yeah. And I totally agree with what you said as far as a 1-0 is sort of a draw in either Champions League semi-finals like we saw last night, and even more importantly, League One playoff semi-finals.
They are very similar.
They're very well, pretty much the same page. So no, very much looking forward to it. Nearly as much as you, but go on, Josh Murphy.
Next time we're sitting in these seats, next Thursday, my train back from Peterborough for the away game would have got into Euston or King's Cross at about midnight. So I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be probably a little bit hungover, and we're going to know what has happened in this game that many people are calling the greatest two-legged football experience of all time. We saw that in 2 minutes. Our away game. That is how massive we are.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's the same number that Reading get at home, about 1,300.
We're just with another 0 on the end.
Right. Liverpool host Tottenham. Next up, we should say we're recording this on Thursday morning. Tonight there is the Spurs-Chelsea game. So Spurs might win that game 5-0. They might lose the game 5-0, which will obviously have a bearing on what we think and also this line. But as it stands right now, Liverpool are the favourites with Sporting Index. They're 1.35 favourites in the supremacy. So lower here is Liverpool to win by a goal or a draw, or Spurs to win the game. Higher is Liverpool -1 effectively. 3, 2, 1.
Wow, we're very good.
Quizmaster, you haven't
this
enough
has
of
not been very
answers.
exciting.
It's great news for the winner here.
It is. And
The leader, the leader, I should say, not the winner, the
Yeah.
leader. God, I've really done it there.
Wasn't it?
I've done it
Still a
there.
couple more markets.
I've done it there.
Pick that one up as well.
Yeah. Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's not as high as the Arsenal one, but I think it's too high. I think Liverpool will continue to misfire. They've got the issues with Salah kicking off with Klopp. Nunes just missing everything. I don't know. It just feels to me like Liverpool's season is probably going to peter out now.
You're
Used in the right context.
You're going to peter them out.
Yeah.
That was in the right context, yeah.
Yeah. I'm quite happy about that.
I'm surprised you
Do I get a
didn't
point? Do I get a point for
I'm trying
that?
to think of any Liverpool player called Peter, and I can't.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
Yeah, even back in the day, though.
Peter Crouch.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Probably the most famous footballer called Peter. Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is the game tonight, as you mentioned. Like,
Play for Norwich?
You did.
Yeah.
Very good.
Play for Norwich.
that's how he's so quick to
Yeah,
roll
yeah.
off the tongue. Yeah, like tonight's game could have a big impact on this, but I'm still pretty comfortable going low.
Yeah, the season's kind of unravelling was the words I was going to use, but all the same kind of stuff, isn't it? Yeah, and the same thing. Yes, I can probably see Liverpool winning this by an odd goal, as they have done quite often against Spurs at Anfield in recent seasons. But it just feels that it's to have a narrow defeat for Spurs and the draw and a Spurs win, which they're more than capable of going to Anfield and taking it to Liverpool, then I'll have that on side. Yeah. So you have to go back to 2017, the last time Liverpool beat Spurs at Anfield by 2 or more goals. So I know it's historical, but I'll go with that
That's fine.
trend to continue.
I'll allow it. Yeah, I think Spurs came out of the North London derby with a lot of credit, to be fair. And I've seen some Spurs fans getting frustrated about the style of play. I think that's just, you're always, obviously when you lose games, especially against your rivals, you're going to be annoyed about it. But I think the way they approached the game, I thought even when Arsenal went in between 1-0 and 2-0, Spurs were clearly in the ascendancy. The goal came against a run of play. And then at 3-0 down, they ramped up the pressure. There's nothing in that performance to suggest to me that Spurs aren't a team that can cause Liverpool some real issues. And this is a Liverpool team who are massively down on their haunches right now. It depends what happens this evening, of course. That's kind of the big caveat. But, I'd be looking to back Spurs to win this game. They are nearly 5-1 on the fixed odds market. So that looks like a slice of value to me against, as we say, a Liverpool team who are kind of soul-searching at the moment.
The injuries are huge, though. Like, tonight, if they pick up any more defensive injuries, it could be...
Do you remember early in the season when they had loads of injuries and they just kept winning?
Yeah.
The concern for me is more their away form. And again, we'll learn tonight. Like, if Chelsea go and beat Spurs tonight and do it comfortably, then I think the home form, away form split in performance level becomes a massive issue, and then I'd probably revise what I've just said.
Yeah, their last away game was at Newcastle. They were terrible.
4-0 beat.
Yeah, they were really, really awful.
But then that is against a Newcastle side who are brilliant at home.
Exactly, yeah. And I think you can say, well, right, that's a one-off. They've only lost 2 or more goals. They've lost 3.
Do you not find it mad how much it changes, like performance levels home and away?
Yeah, I do find it very
like
strange.
It is.
Yeah, the difference. Yeah, there's so many sides like that, isn't there?
It's just such an obvious, intangible thing where, is it the pitch size? Is it the non-travelling? Is it the fans? But then you have some teams who are better away from home than they are at home. It's so weird.
Yeah,
I'd love someone to explain it to me.
You hope good luck with that, and if you find that person, put them in touch with me.
I will. Same game now. Still a Sporting Index. Total goals market. 4.15 is the midpoint here. So higher is 5 or more, lower is 4 or fewer. 3, 2, 1. The handicap's had a shocker here.
Even I can go.
I really hoped he would. I saw it was there and I was like,
I was so tempted, but I just said.
So there's only one selection so far that has been different between the 3 of us.
That's nice, isn't it? That's going to be really fun for everyone at home to watch.
Yeah.
Or it should make it obvious, for them who to pick this week.
Maybe do the ACCA. Or you can't do that spread betting, but you just do them all.
Yeah, we can. Spreadex have got
please gamble responsibly.
Yeah. Fixed odds. We can
find
a way to get it in there.
Yeah, obviously, these games aren't all going off at the same time. You can roll your profits on.
Yeah,
gamble responsibly.
Getting a bit carried away
again.
Yeah,
it's so high, isn't it? This has only copped this line once in the last 6 between these sides.
Hang on, whoa! I'm going to have to cut in here. You used Peter out correctly, and now you used copped in the Liverpool.
Yeah.
God, you're sharp this week.
Clopped.
I think that's better. Just when I was about to have a high moment.
Yeah.
Sweet as.
Because I was going to say, if someone had gone on the other side, which we obviously haven't, they would be saying, there's always loads of goals with Tottenham and Liverpool, but once in the last 6 between these 2 sides, it's not loads.
But this is one of those things to me where it wouldn't surprise me at all if it is 5-3.
Yeah.
And it's 8 goals, but on the balance of probability, I'd really struggle to be yes, 5 or more is more likely than 4 or fewer.
Yeah, I can't, say this needs to be 5. And as you rightly say, and I'm exactly the same opinion, this could quite easily be a very, very high scoring game between these 2 sides. But I want to have 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 goals on side rather than having to get to 5 to get a partial win and then go from there. It's landed in 4 of 17 at Anfield in the league this season. Luton, Chelsea, Newcastle and Fulham. And 3 of 16 Spurs away games. Brighton, Manchester City, then again, and Burnley. So, for me, it's just an incredibly high line that has to be taken on lower.
Indeed. Final market, final game we're covering again with Sporting Index. Crystal Palace, the bells of the Premier League at the moment, aren't they?
Doing well, aren't they?
Up against the villain of the piece, to an extent, Manchester United. Total goal minutes, the market here, again, as we did earlier for Arsenal Bournemouth. 166.5 is the midpoint with Sporting Index. So higher is lots of goals and late goals. Lower is fewer goals and early goals. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, wow.
I really thought That's a nightmare.
I don't believe it. Okay, should we re-record? Jack?
I fancy Palace in this, and I fancy. I think Man United have somehow got away with getting a right hiding so many times this season.
Yeah.
And I think this could well be.
Do you know a reason why that is?
Go on.
Andre Onana, and he doesn't. No
Right,
one talks about it. Like, even against Burnley last time, he makes. I know he makes clangers,
Yeah.
but he makes saves.
What keeper doesn't?
I mean, he makes quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
But like the amount of times in games this season where they have been, you do not concede as many shots as United do, and get away with it as often as you do, unless you have a keeper that, for the most part, is doing good things.
He's a great shot stopper, isn't he? And he's had plenty of practice this season. I just feel that Palace have got the armoury here to actually hurt Manchester United. Hopefully Eze will be fit for this one. I am talking up from a pro-Palace angle. I can see them scoring a few goals here. Mateta's obviously found some very good form, but I think that's because he's got a manager that plays to a style that suits him. Elise, Eze we know about. Wharton I know is a player that you're extremely fond of, and absolutely why not? Yeah, and he's playing superbly well in his first few games in the Premier League. So bigger and better things there. And I just feel that both these sides have got a bit of a penchant for late goals.
Lovely penchant. Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, well, it's not the same as your...
Is Michael Elise going to score a penchant with his penchant for goals?
Whilst wearing a poncho?
Yeah.
Probably. So I said the goals, lots and lots of late goals. There's been 10 goals in Manchester United away games only that have seen scored in added on time at the end of the 90. That's
crazy.
A crazy high amount. And when there's that many, it just means that this line, obviously, a couple of times this season away from home, there's only been goals in added time. So those 2 goals have been enough for this line to cop. So that doesn't work at Selhurst Park, admittedly.
No.
But, So, for me, I fancy there's lots of goals in it. The way Palace are set up under Glasner and the way Manchester United have been playing, it seems that it's kind of, let's go out in a blaze of, I'm going to leave it there, it's not necessarily glory, but Erik Ten Hag is going out in a blaze of something. And he's just saying, right, go and play.
Doesn't help Erik Ten Hag that a player that he basically annexed from the squads put in a match-winning performance in a Champions League semi-final last night.
Yeah.
You're like, what are you doing?
No.
Talking of elite talent, and talking of Michael Elise, I did a French accent. He was born in Hammersmith, but there is an interesting argument to be had where he's still not full international anywhere, and he was a France youth international who is eligible to play for England, having been born here. He's also eligible for Nigeria and Algeria, and he's still yet to make up his mind where he wants to play. He was named in a Nigeria squad before, but didn't play. France youth international. I assume he's got no interest in playing in the England squad, because otherwise surely would have done something about that, because he is good.
Yes.
But it's got nothing to do with this, though. I just like talking about players who were incredible in the EFL and are now tearing up in the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, Palace will create loads against United. All United games are really end-to-end. I think the way this will develop, given the way that United games generally do, where they're very bad at holding on to leads generally, look at the Coventry game, means that there's no reason... I can't see what the scoreline would be for this not to continue to be end-to-end later on in the game. And I think Palace, I agree with you, will really fancy their chances of winning this one.
Yeah, United games are just filled with madness at the moment, aren't they? And
Even like the
Palace
Burnley
are a
game,
side
which was,
that's
it was still 1-1, but it was still just carnage throughout the whole game.
Yeah, and I think this is Monday Night Football at Selhurst Park, and Selhurst Park is back to how it was a couple of seasons ago, really pumped up, loving Glasner and how he's playing, high energy, high press, and lots of exciting talent that they say the handbrake's kind of been released. So I think there's going to be a brilliant atmosphere. Loads of goals. You're going to love your Monday night.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It should be a good Monday. Also, one more thing. Only Sheffield United have conceded more goals than Palace after the 75th minute this season. So I know we've just said loads about how Palace will get loads of chances. On the flip side, they've conceded 23 after the 75th minute.
Wow.
Late goals abound.
Yeah.
Get on that in play.
Great stuff. Apologies that we agreed on pretty much every single selection in this week's episode of Higher or Lower. There is one differential, and that is so the only thing that can change the leaderboard is when the first goal is scored in City against Wolves.
Yeah.
Class. Hopefully there's lots of good insight in there anyway to help you inform your spread betting selections over the course of the weekend. Please cheer on the mighty Oxford United on Saturday night, albeit if there are any Peterborough fans watching this, best of luck to you as well. Please don't gloat too much in the comments. If you do us on next week's show. Make sure, if you haven't got a Sporting Index or a Spreadex account, you click on the link below to set one up. There is a new customer offer there. You can find the details in the link, and T's and C's do apply. And please remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit when it comes to spread betting. Check out WhoScored.com for all of the stats that can inform your betting over the course of the weekend across the football that's coming up. And oddschecker has you sorted for your fixed odds fancies too. Thank you to Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you to Dan.
Good luck.
We'll be back again next week. Hopefully I've got a smile on my face. Hopefully I'm not crying into my bats. But we will see. Enjoy the weekend's football, and please do ensure that you're gambling responsibly.